Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Suranjali Seal, and like I always say, if you are somebody that loves literature and is all about literature, then this is the channel for you. In our video today, we are going to begin an analysis and a detailed discussion of a very widely celebrated text, and the name of the novel is The Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and it had been published in 1925. Now, Fitzgerald was an American novelist, essayist, and he is also well known for short stories. So he was a short story writer as well, and he had written The Great Gatsby, and this book, this novel, has stood the test of time, and we enjoy it even today. It is a phenomenal novel, and it talks about the 1920s, the jazz age. We are going to talk about all of this in our discussion today. Now, this novel has 9 chapters, so I'm going to divide my videos into 3 parts. So part 1, part 2, and part 3. Today we're going to talk about part 1, and in each part I'm going to talk about 3 chapters. We're going to discuss everything in detail, and in our video today we're going to cover chapters 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to talk about everything like I've done for Macbeth, like I've done for Dr. Faustus, like I'm doing for Dr. Faustus now. Also, I'm doing an analysis in detail, right? So for The Great Gatsby also I'll do the same. I'll give you material for your answers as well. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So right at the get-go, I have my book over here. Okay, right at the get-go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a summary. I'm going to give you a summary of The Great Gatsby, of the chapters, and then we're going to analyze them. So I'm going to talk about chapter 1. I'll tell you what is it about, the story, what is chapter 1 about, a summary, and then I'm going to talk about the characters and the analysis and discussions. We're going to do that in detail. Okay, so what is the summary? Let's just see. Okay, right in the opening, this is the opening line of The Great Gatsby. I have my book, so I'll just read it out to you. So the opening lines, okay, chapter 1, The Great Gatsby. In my younger and more vulnerable days, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you have had. So it is him, this narrator, talking to us. It is established that Nick Carraway is going to be a narrator. He is a narrator. He establishes himself as the narrator and also casts himself as this book's author. So he is going to tell a story of Great Gatsby, and he is not only the narrator who's telling us the story, he also poses himself or casts himself as this book's author. He's writing or telling a story to us readers about this man called Gatsby. So we come to know that Nick Carraway is our narrator. Okay, he is our narrator, and he had lived in Minnesota, okay, where he had lived, and now he has come to Long Island. It's a place. He has come to Long Island to stay there. Now, where does he stay? Okay. Oh, and also you have to remember the Nick Carraway, okay, he comes to stay in West Egg. We are introduced to East Egg and West Egg in Long Island, where Nick Carraway comes to stay. You have the East and West Egg, which is very, very important in Great Gatsby, okay, with heavy symbolisms over here. We're going to talk about all of that. You have to remember, in East Egg, I'm going to talk about this in detail in my analysis, okay, but I'm just giving you the summary. In East Egg, it is known that the more fashionable, affluent families live in East Egg, okay. These families have had generational wealth. Generational wealth, that is, they have had years of wealth. Generations of wealth has been handed down in the family. So they are very posh. They are brought up in a degree or with a degree of social grace. You know, like for example, they're taught how to eat food, how to cut the food. They know they have to learn how to talk, how to carry on the business, how to greet people, how to meet people, how to behave when you're having tea. So this is like taught to them. This is like generational wealth. They inherit privilege. They have inherited privilege. It symbolizes old money in the sense that these people have had money, generations of wealth, for many years, many generations, like their fathers, then their grandfathers, then their great grandfathers. They all have passed down that legacy, and then with that you have the contrast of West Egg. This is East Egg, where the posh families live, right, with generational wealth. Then you have West Egg. West Egg is filled with people, or the people who live in West Egg, just like Gatsby. They are the people with new money in the sense they have amassed wealth, okay. often by unfair means, often by corrupt means. They have just come into new money. Quickly, they have amassed wealth. It's not generational wealth, they don't know the value of toss and toil. They don't know the value of this, with the generational wealth, they have inherited privilege. They have inherited a way of living. That style and that poshness and that standard, no, the West Eggers, they do not have. It does not match with the East Egg people. With the people who are living in the East Egg, they have an air of privilege and society with them. And for the people in West Egg, they have come into the money, but they lack that social grace. They lack that social standing. They're making new connections, okay, and often by unfair means. So the East Egg people are more aristocratic, whereas the West Egg people are into new money and into the outward bling of it all, okay. And it is in West Egg, it is in this place, okay, where Nick Carraway rents a house. So we know our narrator has come to Long Island to stay there. He comes from an affluent family, but he rents a house in West Egg to stay there next to Gatsby, next to a big mansion, okay. Now he stays there, and then we come to know that he has a cousin named Daisy Buchanan, who stays across the bay in East Egg. Daisy stays in East Egg, so that means we get an idea that Daisy is one of those aristocratic families who are privileged, who have had generational wealth. So Nick Carraway goes to visit Daisy, okay, in the other side of the bay. From West Egg, he goes to East Egg to meet Daisy Buchanan. And when we go there, we meet Tom, we meet Daisy, and we meet a sportsperson, a sportswoman named Jordan Baker. So we meet Jordan Baker also, and it is a pleasant afternoon. Okay, it's a pleasant afternoon. Daisy comes out in all her grandeur. She is a privileged woman with a lot of social grace. Okay, it's personified. Okay, it is embodied in Daisy, the way she talks, the way she is projected, the way she carries herself. Everything is about societal grace. Everything speaks privilege. And then you come to know that amidst the whole bling, outwardly bling of that privileged society, Daisy's life is hollow at its heart. In the middle of that heart, there's a crack. Okay, and what is that crack? We figure out, or we get to know that Tom Buchanan is having an affair. So Jordan Baker, Tom, it so happens that Nick goes to Daisy's house, and in between conversations and during the afternoon, there's a phone call. There's a ringing in the phone call, and Tom Buchanan goes to pick up the phone call, and Daisy goes behind him. Okay, in that anxiety, right? There's a phone call, unknown caller has called, and Daisy runs behind him, and Jordan Baker breaks the news to Nick Carraway that it is in all probability Tom Buchanan has a mistress. Okay, he is unfaithful. He is not faithful to Daisy, and he is having an affair with another woman. And Nick Carraway is observing all of this, telling us all of this. I'll read out a few things when we're doing the analysis. Nick Carraway is observing all of this, and he through the narration and through the way all the details about Daisy that are given here, we realize that within that bling, or that outwardly bling, inside it's still hollow. There's a crack, in that aristocratic privileged life. Also, she's not completely satisfied because her marriage is falling apart. So all of this, she's alone, okay, in that she has everything, but then again, she does not have the most important thing of all. So loyalty, and love. So all of those things are dealt with here. Then after this, Nick goes back to his house after this, and at night we are given an introduction into the silhouette of Gatsby. We see Gatsby. He says that Nick sees Gatsby, stretching out his hand towards a green light across the bay, and he just saw the silhouette from behind. He saw Gatsby. He did not see Gatsby's face. Nick does not know how Gatsby looks like. We, the readers, have also not met Gatsby. We are still yet to meet him. And Nick comes home, and that night he sees Gatsby outside, and he's stretching out his hand towards the green light across the bay, as if he wants to grab something, as if it's a dream that he wants to grab. Okay, so this is chapter 1. In chapter 1, Like, again, I'll just say it very quickly. Nick Carraway from Minnesota, he comes to Long Island to stay in West Egg. We get a distinction between East Egg and West Egg. West Egg is the less fashionable of the two, and Nick Carraway, who comes from an affluent family, he rents a place there and he stays next to Gatsby's mansion. Then he goes one afternoon to Daisy Buchanan's house. Daisy is his cousin, and there he meets Tom Buchanan, Daisy, her husband, and Jordan Baker, who is a sportswoman and Daisy's friend. And it is revealed to us through a phone call that there's a phone call that comes. Tom goes to grab it. Daisy runs behind him, and Jordan Baker reveals to Nick the fact that Tom is being unfaithful to Daisy. And after that, when Daisy comes out again, oh yes, there's a part where she introduces the baby to Nick also. And after this afternoon, when Nick comes back home, he sees the back or the silhouette of Great Gatsby or Gatsby stretching out his arms or hands towards a green light across the bay. So this is this is chapter 1 and of the Great Gatsby. Now we're going to dive deep into the analysis, which is, of course, my favorite thing to do. So let's look at the first part. Now, what do we take from this? Nick's opening lines, okay. In my younger and more vulnerable years, which I just read out, my father said that whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the privileges you've had. So this goes on to tell us, Nick kind of establishes this idea that he is not judgmental. He wants to project to us, okay, the readers, he's trying to project himself as being non-judgmental. But you have to remember that many times in this text, many times you will find that Nick does judge people. He actually sees himself as a more decent, like his moral decencies, no, he sees it more he puts it a level higher up than the other characters. Nick sees himself as a character or as a person who has an idea of moral decencies. So even when he describes Gatsby, he says that Gatsby stands for everything that I hate. Gatsby embodies all the characteristics that are worthy of scorn, but he turned out well in the end. So the thing about Nick is that he is observing everything and relating everything to us. And right in the opening lines, he says that I have been taught from a very young age by my father that people have not had the privileges I have had, so not to be judgmental. So you have to just remember that Nick over here, he's trying to be non-judgmental, but sometimes, right, like this character falls short. Like sometimes he does become he does see himself as having a better idea of decencies, because he comes from an affluent family. So anyway, so this is what Nick is telling us, that his father has taught him to be non-judgmental. So he's just trying to be like that. Then as the story progresses, he tells us that my family have been prominent, well-to-do people in this middle western city for 3 generations. The Carraways are something of a clan, and we have a tradition that we're descended from the dukes of. So he's basically telling us, the readers, you can read it on your own, he's telling us, the readers, that he has descended from a wealthy clan. He's part of generational wealth. He's part of the privileged. He's part of that society, and now he has come to stay in West Egg so he can distinguish it even more, because he's come from an affluent family. Now he's staying in West Egg amongst the people with new money, so he can distinguish it better. Okay, so this is what he says about Great Gatsby, though. Okay, this is what Nick says about Gatsby in the opening chapter itself. He says that it was an extraordinary gift. He says, why does he like Gatsby? Okay, he gives us a reason, that it was an extraordinary gift for hope, a romantic readiness such as I have never found in any other person, and which is not likely I shall ever find again. No, Gatsby turned out all right in the end. So he is saying that yes, Gatsby stands for everything that I don't agree with, but he turned out well in the end. So why, despite everything, because even Gatsby has corrupt links, okay, so despite everything that Nick goes through, why does Nick like Gatsby? Why Nick calls Gatsby why is Gatsby great for Nick? Why is Gatsby great? Why is he known as the Great Gatsby? And why does Nick like him? This is the question. Why is Nick talking about this man? He has an extraordinary gift for hope, a romantic readiness such as I have never found in any other person, and is not likely that I shall ever find ever. Okay, so what is here, you have to understand that Gatsby is almost like the personification of the American dream. He's the realization of the American dream. It is a theme in The Great Gatsby. You have to remember that the American dream is that anyone can do it no matter what your background is. You come from a humble background, a rich background, whatever your social standing and your background is, if you put your hard work into anything, you can make it in this world. That's the American dream. And Gatsby is a personification of that. And Nick admires him for it. Nick, initially captivated by Gatsby's seemingly effortless ability to create a lavish life and live out his idealized vision of love with Daisy, Nick also recognizes Gatsby's vulnerability and the fact that he's a victim of his own dreams. So, the American dream, okay, over here, Gatsby is the personification of it. How is he the personification of it? He has amassed wealth. He's living out his life. He's making choices, running after the love of his life, which is Daisy. He knows all the truths about Daisy's life, and he has never stopped, chasing that green light. The symbolism in chapter 1 of the green light is Daisy. He's reaching out his arm towards that dream. He's going to capture that dream. He's the embodiment or the personification or the realization of the American dream, that if you want it, if you put your heart and mind into it, anyone can make it in this world. And Gatsby is running after his dreams. He is his idealized vision of love, like too good to be true vision of love. And towards the end, right, we'll find out that it was futile at the end. And also another thing about the American dream in Great Gatsby, you will see that sometimes, the American dream on the surface, right, it was showing that yes, it had a lot of charm, it had a lot of captivation, it was a lot of allure. People were attracted to the American dream, that yes, go to America, if you put your heart into it, you're going to get it. But when you see the corruption in chapter 2 itself, chapter 2 and 3, when you'll see the corruption that had seeped in, into the society and the moral degradation of the society, you will see that that was a byproduct of the American dream. Not everybody got those privileges through hard work. Like Gatsby himself, like the people who lived in West Egg, you will see that they were using unfair means, underground means, with very questionable actions and futile actions. They were trying to realize that dream. For example, Gatsby amassed so much wealth. Okay, it's not through straight means, it's of course through corrupt means. Okay, then we see the moral decay of the society. Like, for example, Tom Buchanan's affair with Myrtle, right? We'll see it in the next chapter. So Tom Buchanan also has an affair. So where is the society going? So the Great Gatsby talks about that along with this American dream, that moral corruption is a byproduct of it. Not everybody got it through hard work, that there were people who were using unfair means who got what they wanted in life. And the moral decay in society, the gap between the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor, was ever widening, and that was a reality. Okay, and that reality has been a byproduct of the American dream. That is what this novel is trying to talk about, that yes, the American dream on the surface was so alluring, and Gatsby is he is the one who is the embodiment of it. That Gatsby, this person who ran behind his dreams, his idealized love, Daisy, he's going to run behind Daisy. He has amassed wealth because he wanted Daisy to be in his life. He amassed a lot of wealth and he's living out his life the way. But towards the end, the outcome of Gatsby's life, when we'll see, you'll realize that the American dream was not all that glittery, not all that, not all that bling, or not all that captivating and alluring. There were many undertones. Alongside it, there was moral decay. Alongside it, there was corruption. Alongside it, there was this gap between the haves and have not, this societal dregs, okay, in our lives, that was creeping in along with the American dream. So Nick initially is captivated by Gatsby's charm, but he also realizes Gatsby's vulnerability to his own dream. He was running behind his dream, and towards the end, it was, you can say, futile. Like, he did everything, but did he realize that dream? Did he get that dream? Did he get it? No matter what he tried, how he tried, right? What was the outcome? We're going to see it, okay, in the book. So he empathizes with Gatsby's struggle to achieve his goals and his loneliness. Gatsby represents to Nick the possibility of achieving one's dreams, even if it means working hard and striving for something more. So Nick loves Gatsby, or likes Gatsby. Why Nick is captivated by Gatsby? It's because he doesn't back down. Like, there are struggles in his life, there are problems in his life, but he keeps chasing his dream. That's again reinforcing the idea of the American dream. chase your dream, and you'll be able to get it. So that's why Nick has a soft corner for Gatsby, even though he did so many questionable things in life. So then we're introduced to the East Egg and West Egg, like I told you. So this is the right passage from the text itself. The passage reads like this: But their physical resemblance must be a source of perpetual confusion to the gulls that fly overhead. That the birds, the gulls, the seagulls, right, that fly overhead, that fly over East Egg and West Egg, when they look down, they will be confused because East Egg and West Egg, right, they look the same. I've included a map, okay, after one more slide. I'm going to explain everything, the whole story through a map so that you remember what happens. So you have the two physical, territories, East Egg, West Egg, and in the middle you have the body of water, the bay. So East Egg and West Egg, when the birds fly overhead, for them it must be very confusing because physically they look the same, physically they're the same. To the wingless, that is without wings, to the people who are without wings, us human beings, to the wingless, that is us human beings, a more arresting phenomenon is the dissimilarity in every particular except the shape and size. For the birds who are flying above, for them East Egg and West Egg look exactly the same. But to the wingless, that is us human beings, a more arresting phenomenon, a more captivating thing is the dissimilarity in every particular. Everything between East Egg and West Egg is different. It's different. It's not the same. Only the physical territory, the two West Egg and East Egg, they look the same. But apart from that, everything is different. Except shape and size. I lived at West Egg, the less fashionable of the two. So now you know that the aristocrats, the ones with generational wealth, lived in East Egg, and in West Egg, it was less fashionable than the two. The West Egg is the people with the new money, though this is a more superficial tag to express the bizarre and not a little sinister contrast between the two. Sinister contrast, because remember, these are people who maybe they have worked hard, but they have also employed unfair means to get the wealth that they have. There's moral corruption and everything that is related to this newfound money, right? So that's why it's a sinister contrast. It's not just a mere contrast, it's a sinister contrast. You understand? Then after this, I told you he went to Daisy's house. In Daisy's house, we're introduced to Tom Buchanan, we're introduced to Daisy Buchanan, and we're introduced to Jordan Baker. So this is the three characters that we're introduced here. So Tom is introduced to us as a brute, okay? He is brutish, he is rude, even his physical, physically, and, the way he talks and his throw is very, very rough, and he is very opinionated. He has this arrogance, and he has this superior air already. And even when you'll meet Daisy, you will see that she says that Tom is a brute, okay? So Tom is, he embodies that brutish personality. So right from the beginning, you will not like him. The way he talks, the way he carries himself is not a favorable character. When it comes to Daisy, though, she has knowledge, okay? Daisy is not foolish. Daisy is not stupid. Daisy pretends to be stupid, when you read some of her lines, she uses a sweet voice and says things like too politely, and you'll question that, how can a character be like this? But she is not stupid. Daisy is not stupid, but she has an idea of how the world works, and that's how she's working. And this part is a text, okay? This is Nick Carraway's observing Daisy, and this is a paragraph, or these are lines from the text itself. For a moment, the last sunshine fell with romantic affection upon her glowing face. The last sunshine, in the afternoon, right, during sunset, the last sunshine fell on her face. Her voice compelled me forward breathlessly as I listened. Her voice, she has a soothing, sweet voice. It is a captivating, alluring voice. She keeps up that air of superiority and privilege. So she's talking to him, and he's captivated. He listens. He leans in and he listens. Then the glow faded. The sunshine fell on her face, and that glow faded. The sun is setting, and then the glow faded. Each light deserting her with lingering regret, like children leaving her a pleasant street at dusk. So, that light was degrading. This is very, very symbolic. I'll tell you. this light that is fading from her, right? It's that it's in there, that youth, the Daisy, the real Daisy, the real Daisy, the person with a lot of vitality, the person who has an idea of the world, the person who has, sense, that Daisy is there somewhere. When the sun shone on her, she looked beautiful. She had that glow in her, that vitality for life, and slowly it was fading. And it is very symbolic of the jadedness. What is jadedness? Jadedness is like, you're just used to life now. You're bored, you're used to, you're like, yeah, this is how life is. Jadedness is like, you're not excited for what's going to happen next. You're not living life. Jadedness is like, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to get up, I'm going to eat, I'm going to go to job, I'm going to come, I'm sleeping again, tomorrow I'm going to get. She is used to the life that she's living now. She's bored, and she is, that you keep going through something, and after a point you're like, yes, whatever, I don't care anymore, so she has that I don't care anymore, just leave it attitude. She's the jadedness, it's fading. That glow within her, in her life, it's fading. This part is very, very symbolic of that. Then, and in their conversation, Jordan Baker says that you live in West Egg. Jordan Baker, the sports person, she is telling Nick Carraway that you live in West Egg. Then he was like, I know somebody there. I know somebody who lives in West Egg. Nick says, I don't know a single, like he was going to say that I don't know anybody from West Egg. But Jordan Baker is the first one who introduces the name of Gatsby in chapter 1. She says, you must know Gatsby. Okay, this is what she tells Nick. Daisy demands, Gatsby? What Gatsby? Daisy is the one who asks in chapter 1. She demands, Gatsby? What Gatsby? Tell me the name. So in chapter 1, we get this first spark that there is some link between Gatsby and Daisy. And who is Gatsby? We still don't know. In chapter 1, we've not met Gatsby yet. He's not entered the scene. Now, what happens is, Tom goes inside, he attends his mistress's call, and Daisy is inside, she's distressed, and Jordan Baker tells Nick Carraway that Tom is having an affair. Now when Daisy comes out again, she says, you have to meet the baby, like she's ignoring the reality of her life, and she's being superficial here. She's being shallow. She's like ignoring that, and she's like, come, I'll make you meet the baby. You have to meet the baby. So, she's keeping up appearances. That's the downsides of this privileged class. The downsides that you have everything and then you have nothing at all. So she takes Nick and she introduces a baby, and she says, I hope she'll be a fool. This is one of the most important lines in Great Gatsby. And she says, I hope she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world. A beautiful little fool. So it's not that she's being mean. It's not that she's saying that I wish my daughter is a fool. No. She's saying that I wish that my daughter is a fool. Why? Ignorance is bliss. I don't want her. I wish she just like ignores everything, pretends like she's a fool so that she doesn't get hurt. Because, Daisy is also pretending to be a fool. She's pretending a fool when she's talking to people around. She's talking to people. She's meeting Nick. She's introducing her husband, and she's saying, oh, I'm happy. This place makes me the happiest person in the world, and all of these kind of things. But in reality, her husband is having an affair with somebody, and she's distraught. And then again, immediately she comes out and she's like, you have to meet the baby. And then again she looks at her baby and she says, I hope she'll be a fool. So the reality of her life is something else. Like I said, she has everything and nothing at all. So she was trying to imply that the life of a woman is a happier one in ignorance, to keep her from getting hurt by pretending not to know what is going on. The same thing that Daisy is doing. She's pretending, ignoring, she's in denial, okay, so to say. She's pretending not to realize what is actually happening in her life, and she's saying that I hope that my daughter is a fool so that she never gets hurt in her life. So it is not that she does not have a wit. It is not that she's not intelligent. Daisy has personality, she has intelligence, she's just not using it. She's pretending to be a fool so that she doesn't get hurt. It's a byproduct of the life that she's living, the choices that she made that gave her this life, right, of a privileged person. And she's married to a person like Tom Buchanan, so you can understand the distress in her life anyway. So what happened is that Nick goes back home. I told you, Nick goes back home, and then he sees Gatsby, stretching out his hand towards that green light. So this is that passage. I decided to call to him. He wanted to call Gatsby, but I didn't call to him, for he gave a sudden intimation that he was content to be alone. He was happy to be alone. He stretched out his arms towards the dark water in a curious way, and as far as I was from him, I could have sworn he was trembling. He stretched out his hand towards the water in a curious way, and he was trembling. He was trembling. There was a green light across the bay. He's trying to catch it. So he's trembling. There's struggle for the American dream. There's struggle to realize what you can have, what you cannot have. There's a struggle towards attaining whatever you want to attain in your life. Okay. There's a struggle. You have to struggle towards that, and that struggle is what Nick admires. He admires the hope, the idealism, the romantic readiness that, yes, I'm going to go out and live my life and get what I want to get. But on the flip side, okay, you will get the idea that it is not just about the dream. It is not just a happy thing. There are byproducts of that dream. There are byproducts of it, which we will see right from chapter 2. You'll see the stark contrast. Okay. So this is chapter 1. This is the summer of 1922 when this is happening. Nick Carraway has started telling us the story of the Great Gatsby. Now we're going to move on to chapter 2. Now, chapter 2, this is one of the most interesting chapters for me, particularly because of the description of the Valley of Ashes and the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. So, I particularly love this chapter because of these two things, okay? Because they the whole theme of the Great Gatsby finds expression in this chapter, in chapter 2. So, what happens? I'll tell you the summary again. Now, Nick travels with Tom Buchanan. It's a very small chapter. I won't go into the details. I'll just tell you that Tom Buchanan wants Nick to go and meet his lady love. Okay, the mistress. Tom takes what's his name? Nick Carraway. Tom invites him and says that, come, jump into the car. Let's go meet. I'll make you meet my girl. He says, I'm going to go and make you meet my mistress. Now, from their house, when they will be going towards, meeting the mistress, there's the Valley of Ashes, okay? And in that Valley of Ashes, there's a big hoarding, okay, of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. There's a very big hoarding. I've given both the pictures here, okay? This is the hoarding, and that is the Valley of Ashes. It is a stark contrast to the life that they're living in East and West Egg. Complete contrast. There you have wealthy households. There you have money. There you have, one side has the poshness, the other side has the means, So you are living there, and when you cross the Valley of Ashes, they call it the Valley of Ashes because okay, I'll just read this. Maybe you'll get to know this. I'll explain everything. But yeah, the Valley of Ashes is so called because it is the ashes of the dreams who couldn't make it. It is the ashes of the dreams of the people who couldn't realize the American dream. And it is the ashes of the people on the shoulders of whom these rich and affluent, newly rich people stepped on and got their dream. Like, imagine you are standing here, somebody climbs up on you and pushes you down and realizes the dream, grabs the dream. So it's the ashes of those people who could not make it. It's the ashes of those people who are working hard day in and day out, and so that these privileged people could have a life, that kind of thing. So this is the Valley of Ashes. So this is in chapter 2. Now I'll read from here what the Valley of Ashes is about. So I have marked it in my book. 1 second. Okay. So the Valley of Ashes, all right? A fantastic farm where ashes grow like wheat. It is like a farm where ashes, it's almost like you're farming, you're farming to grow wheat. So you're growing, ashes are growing there like wheat into ridges and hills and grotesque gardens where ashes take the forms of houses and chimneys and rising smoke. And finally, with a transcendent effort of ash grey men who move dimly and already crumbling through the powdery air. Ash grey men. You can already see my excitement. I can't explain to you how deep these lines are. You're talking about a fantastic farm. This is my interpretation, what I felt about it. So it's a farm where ashes grew. So nothing productive grows. Ashes grow there. So you will not have anything productive. And even the people living there were like ashes. They became synonymous. There's no distinction between the people and the ash. They have sort of mixed with the ash over there, lifeless, every day toiling and tussling, okay, in their lives. They have a life of struggle. They have become synonymous with this ash. Like there's nothing else left in life now for these kind of people. And here they're saying that the ashes grow like wheat. Ashes grow like wheat, that there are more and more people like this. Today, somebody, it's, for the rich and affluent, it's like 1% of the society who have it all. 1% of the society are super rich like that. They have it all. The rest are tussling and toiling, right? So the 1% over there have everything. But these people are growing like wheat. It's like a farmland where one after the other, generation after the other, they're just tossing and toiling. Even one will pass away, another will take their seat. One will pass away, another will take their seat. It is like there's no human importance given to them, because they're not rich or affluent in whatsoever way. They're poor, they're struggling, okay, and they're all trying to realize the American dream, which they haven't found yet, which they haven't realized yet, okay. So these are ash grey men, transcendent effort of ash grey men who move dimly and already crumbling through the powdery air. Even the men are crumbling through the powdery. Imagine a fog, thick fog. You cannot see. These men are invisible. Their work is invisible. The tossing and toil are invisible to the eyes of the privileged. They are invisible. They're just doing the work. People take them for granted, right? The poor. So they're invisible in the eyes of society. Okay, so this is the valley of ashes. I've made some like notes over here which I would like to read out. For the Valley of Ashes, I wrote that in the novel, the Valley of Ashes symbolizes the moral and spiritual decay of the Jazz Age. Okay, and this I'm going to talk about when I'm doing the analysis, because I included it there. And after this, I'm going to talk about the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. Okay, so in this Valley of Ashes, you have a big hoarding. Okay, and this is Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, and this is what it's written. The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, you'll find them, okay, in the Valley of Ashes. The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg are blue and gigantic. Their retinas are only 1 yard high. They look out of no face, but instead from a pair of enormous yellow spectacles which pass over non-existing nose. Evidently some. Okay, so this is what they have huge eyes. Okay, there's a retinas, big retinas with a huge glass, and they're looking out into the Valley of Ashes. So I've written here again, okay, what I've written here is, it is a way of looking at things with clarity, because he's wearing spectacles, right? So he's wearing these spectacles that he's wearing. It's a way of looking at things clearly, right? So this Dr. T.J. Eckelberg and the Valley of Ashes have heavy symbolism in this chapter. So we're going to talk about that. So they cross the Valley of Ashes. They come to the Valley of Ashes. They meet George Wilson. We're introduced to George Wilson and Myrtle Wilson. George Wilson's wife is Myrtle Wilson. Myrtle Wilson is Tom Buchanan's mistress. Okay, she's a married woman and she's having an affair with Tom Buchanan. And Tom Buchanan and Myrtle Wilson, they go to New York City. Okay, they rent an apartment in New York City. There she calls a few of her other people in the apartment, right, the neighbors and all. She calls a few people who she knows, acquaintances, and she calls her sister Catherine Wilson to come and stay with her, like to have to party at night, so to say. And they have a get together there. Okay, so we are introduced to the Valley of Ashes, then we're introduced to the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, then Tom Buchanan, this Myrtle Wilson, and what's his name, Nick Carraway. They go to New York City and they rent an apartment there and they stay there. Once Nick asks Tom also that won't her husband object, and Tom says that her husband thinks that she's going to meet her sister. Okay, so there's this whole affair thing going on, and they go to this apartment, and there they call a few more people, among which is her sister also, Catherine. And Catherine comes. All of them have a get together, and that is chapter 2 for you. That is all that you have to know about chapter 2. So now we're going to go into the analysis. So chapter 1 is an introduction to say the idea of the East and West, where setting the scene, setting the the mood, setting the idea, giving us a glimpse into Tom Buchanan's life, Daisy Buchanan's life. Now we're carrying on from that. What does Tom do? Where does Tom go? So you have to cross the Valley of Ashes to go to New York, right? And in the Valley of Ashes is where Myrtle lives. So what is the Valley of Ashes? It is a powerful symbol representing the moral decay and social stratification of the 1920s. Social stratification, I told you, these are invisible men. These are people who have not realized the American dream. These are people who are tussling and toiling every day. They are poor, they are helpless, they are working, they are, like they said over here, this is a very powerful word, right? Already crumbling through the powdery air, move dimly and already crumbling through the powdery air. Like, they're just tossing and toiling that's all that there is to life. Like Tom Buchanan, you'll see even Myrtle Wilson, right? She wants what dress to wear, you have to see the baby, what to wear tomorrow's party. Gatsby also, Saturday night you have a party, this party, that meeting. But these are the people who are actually laboriously working every day, people in the Valley of the Ashes. So this is also about social stratification in 1920s, like I said, between the haves and the have-nots, particularly the negative consequences of unchecked materialism and the pursuit of wealth. Unchecked materialism and the pursuit of wealth, I'll talk about this. It serves as a stark contrast to the vibrant, glamorous world of West and East Egg, highlighting the hidden underbelly of the American dream and the suffering of the poor. So like I said, this is heavy on symbolism. The valley represents a stark divide between the wealthy elite and the working class, highlighting the social and economic disparities of the era. This is the social disparities of the era where, there's a stark contrast between the working class and the elite who have it all, and the working class who are tossing in day and night. Valley of Ashes, where you can actually see people tossing and toiling, where people don't have any recognition. They're doing their work, and it shows that the opulence and extravagance of the wealthy are built on the suffering and labor of the poor, like George Wilson. So, when George Wilson meets Tom Buchanan, right, you will see that they are saying over here that the extravagance of the rich are built on the struggles of the poor. And I think that we can agree to that to a certain extent. The rich build up, right? Here it's written over here that the extravagance of the wealthy are built on the suffering and labor of the poor. This is very, very important in the Valley of Ashes. That's why I said they do not have importance. That's why I said they're invisible, almost mixing and crumbling into the Valley of Ashes. These are the people who are treated like dirt. These are the people who are part of that ash. They are seen like ash, and they live in the Valley of Ashes. And you'll see this entire conversation between Tom Buchanan and George Wilson will establish the fact that there's a stark contrast, big divide between the haves and the have-nots, and this was a social reality of the time. And the valley's industrial origins, dumping of ashes, represent the byproducts of pursuit of wealth. Dumping of ashes, Valley of Ashes, right? Because of industrialization, all the ashes were actually dumped there. Okay, all the industrial waste were dumped there. So it is a dumping of ashes, right? It's, you just imagine, no, like it's just a picture symbolism over here. A person, okay, who does not have waste, who does not have any value, he's working. I'm just giving you a visual, okay, just visualize this. There's a person who's, say, cutting grass, and he's invisible to people around, and people are throwing garbage at him, people are throwing mud at him, people are throwing ashes at him, but he continues to cut the grass because that grass is going to give him food. You understand? That is the reality of the people living in the Valley of Ashes. So this is one. Now we come to the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. T.J. Eckelberg, look at the eye, okay? Suppose you just see, this is the Valley of Ashes. I'm just marking it over here. This whole thing is the Valley of Ashes. This is the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. Can you see it's looking out into the Valley of Ashes? It's looking out. It's having, like, in this whole thing, there's this big billboard. Now, the eyes situated in the desolate Valley of Ashes represent the moral and spiritual emptiness of the American dream. Moral and spiritual emptiness of the American dream. Like, look at the eyes, look at the glasses. Like, with the glasses, you're supposed to see more clearly. Okay, how is the spiritual emptiness? Because these eyes are equated to the eyes of God. God is always watching. God is watching over this whole American dream, right? So the billboard itself is a symbol of wasted effort and futility of pursuing wealth and status at the expense of ethical values. The whole thing over here is people in the West Egg, most of them are said to have amassed wealth through unfair means, right? So it is the pursuing wealth and status at the expense of ethical values. You'll see it in Myrtle Wilson also. Myrtle Wilson is with Tom Buchanan. Why? Because Tom Buchanan is wealthy, and she wants to be a wealthy. She wants that lifestyle. So she's having an affair with Tom Buchanan, who can give her riches, who can give her money, who can give her dresses. So you see, there's moral decay, ethical questions over here. Ethics, your ethics are in questions, your values and principles are in question. So at the cost of your ethical values, you want to be wealthy. So what's the point? This is what T.J. Ecclesburg's eyes actually symbolize. The eyes, particularly in the context of George Wilson's grieving state, can be interpreted as a representation of God judging a society that has abandoned its spiritual compass in pursuit of material wealth. The eyes also symbolize a sense of oversight and witness as they are present at the scene of Myrtle's death and serve as a reminder of the tragic consequences of the character's actions. Okay, this we're going to come to later when Myrtle's death happens. That scene we're going to come back here, but you have to remember that the eyes of T.J. Ecclesburg, right? It's empty, it's hollow. It talks of the futility of pursuing wealth at the cost of your principles. It's looking out into the valley of ashes like the eyes of God, which kind of symbolizes that people have left their spirituality, left their principles and values just to run after wealth, just to pursue this dream that they have, and often it does not end nicely for them because of the choices that they make in life. So this is Dr. T.J. Ecclesburg's eyes. Now, this is written, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Ecclesburg are blue and gigantic. Their retinas are 1 yard high. They look out of no face, God, like you have this unseen force that is looking at whatever is happening in the society. And when Myrtle dies, right, this hoarding is there. Dr. T.J. Ecclesburg's hoarding is there. So it's the eye of God looking out into your actions, into the spiritual decay and the consequences. When the consequences come, also God is looking out. God is the one, or maybe the eyes are the one that are looking out. And here it's about the spiritual emptiness, moral and spiritual emptiness. They show it. You can see it more clearly when you wear the gigantic glasses. You can see things more clearly. So it's the valley of ashes. Imagine this foggy land, like ashy land, where you cannot see too much of dust, too much of pollution, and you're wearing glasses to see better. That even in between that fog, even between that haziness, there are things that are going on that are not right. Okay, so the T.J. Ecclesburg's glasses emphasize on that, and brood on over the solemn dumping ground. They're brooding, like he's almost irritated with the fact that all of this is happening, brooding over the solemn dumping ground, the dumping of ashes there. So this is there. Now, introduction of George and Myrtle Wilson. This is George Wilson, this is Myrtle Wilson, and this is Catherine Wilson, okay, her sister. So these are the pictures I've given from the movie, The Great Gatsby. So these are the three. Now, I told you that Tom takes Nick and Myrtle to their apartment, which they have rented in New York. You will see that Myrtle Wilson, she wants a puppy. She wants to buy a dog. She buys a dog. Then she says that I'm going to list out all the things that I want. Next time I want this dress. She's very materialistic. She knows what she wants. Then there's also a part where she says, okay, that, I cried so much. She cried so much, knowing that she married George Wilson thinking that he's wealthy, okay. Myrtle Wilson thought George Wilson was, her husband was wealthy. And after he married, after her marriage, a person had come to take away his suit. The suit that he wore in the wedding, they asked for the suit back. Then she figured out that suit was on rent. It was a rental from another friend. He had taken that suit from another friend, and she cried. She said, I cried and cried. I thought George was, and this is the symbolism, that she thought that George was wealthy, but even the suit wasn't his. He had borrowed it. So she thought George was somebody, but he turned out to be someone else. He came from a lower social standing, a humble social standing, and she married him. And all that dream, she wanted to marry a wealthy man. Why? Because she desires material lifestyle. She desires that rich lifestyle, right? And she thought through marriage, why marrying someone, she'll marry somebody rich and her life will be set. But turns out that George is actually a humble person, is a poor person, and she cries. So now she has an affair with Tom so that Tom can fulfill all those materialistic needs for her. Okay, there's no love. It's always give and take. You'll see in whatever I'm going to explain, you're going to see that there's love is not in the question. Lust is there, and there's this material need. There's give and take between the two. Okay, that's the basis of the relationship. So between Tom and Myrtle. Now, Catherine is another type of girl in the 1920s. Another aspect of the 1920s. She symbolizes that. Catherine's eagerness to participate in Gatsby's parties and her general demeanor suggest a strong desire to move up the social ladder and be associated with the wealthy. This is a constant theme. Okay, this is a constant theme. She wants to be associated with the wealthy. Okay, and she's always attends Gatsby's parties. Okay, she always wants to go to his parties. So it is that desperation, you can say, that desperation to climb up the social ladder, even if you have to keep your morality away, that is there. For Myrtle Wilson symbolizes the aspirational yet unfulfilled. Like, Catherine is still trying to get there. She's not married. She's trying to get there through marriage, okay, through connections, through, say, making rich connections. She wants to realize that dream. For Myrtle, she is unfulfilled. She has already married someone. That dream, this is a symbolism for people who have not achieved that dream. The whole life has gone by trying to achieve the American dream, but they couldn't. They couldn't climb up the social ladder. So now she is going to unethical means. That is, she's going into this whole affair so that she realizes or gets that material satisfaction, So she represents the desire for social mobility and a luxurious life that many lower class individuals in the roaring 20s is the jazz age, right? 1920s. So roaring 20s yearned for. Myrtle's affair with Tom Buchanan shows her desire to escape her mundane life and gain access to the upper class lifestyle, like I mentioned. And even if it's superficial and fleeting, superficial because there's no love between Tom and Myrtle. Their relationship, is based on give and take. Tom is getting all his physical desires, met with Myrtle, and for Myrtle, in exchange, she's getting this luxury. Whatever she asks from Tom, Tom buys it for her. So that's the basis of the relationship, which is not going to work, of course. So there's no real meaning in the relationship anymore. So what anymore? Ever. There was no real meaning in the relationship from the start only, okay, at all. So her tragic death highlights the inherent flaws and dangers associated with chasing the American dream without true substance or morality. Yes, you chase the American dream, that anyone can make it in America, right? Anyone can do it. This American dream, if you work hard, you can achieve your dream. Yes, but the going so far as to go into morality, into making decisions that are questionable, will have outcomes that are questionable, will have outcomes that are bad, right? So this is what they're talking about here. Without her ambition to be a lady of the manor reflects a desire for a better life. So this is chapter 2. Now towards the end, this is the last part of chapter 2. She says, I got to write down a list so that I don't forget all the things I got to do, all the things that she wants, all the material things she wants. She wants to make a list out of it and give it, right? So that's Myrtle Wilson for you. And towards the end, there's a heated conversation between Tom and Myrtle. They're arguing, and she says, Daisy, 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 shouted Mrs. Wilson. I'll say it whenever I want to, Daisy. And the moment she goes to say Daisy, Tom smacks her in the nose, hits her in the nose, and her nose starts bleeding. So there is no real love, real respect, real loyalty in their relationship. Now you will ask that she just said Daisy, Daisy, why did Tom hit her? Why did Tom break her nose? Why? So the thing here is, Tom is a brute, I told you. Tom's character is such that he is arrogant, he is filled with pride, he has a superiority complex, he thinks he's better than most people, he sees himself as an elite, okay. Now, Myrtle Wilson comes from the Valley of Ashes. For Tom, she does not have any other value except that she's there to pleasure him, okay. So for Tom, she's just another possession. For Tom, Myrtle Wilson is just another possession. And this possession is standing up to him and saying that I'll take Daisy's name. And Tom says, do not take, you cannot take her name. And she says, Daisy, 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 I'll take it whenever I want to. So she's questioning Tom's authority, and Tom does not take that for an answer, and he breaks her nose. So you see, it is also symbolic of this difference between the elite and the poor, where the poor will just raise a voice and the elite will smack their nose, or this is more symbolically speaking, the elite will actually put them down. They don't have a voice. So Myrtle just says, whenever I want to, I'm going to take Daisy's name, but it's not her place to take it. That's what Tom thinks. And Tom's authority is being questioned. That's why he breaks her nose. So this is chapter 2 for you. I hope that this has been clear so far. This is more or less what happens in chapter 2. Now we're going to move on to the map, which I talked about. Okay, quickly we're looking at the map. Then we'll look at chapter 3 and we'll be done. Now, this is the map, okay, which I've told you. Now, see, this is, I'm just going to mark, okay, this is West Egg, this is East Egg, okay. Both of them for flying birds look the same, but there are considerable differences between the two. West Egg is the lesser fashionable, okay, less fashionable than the two. The West Egg is where, I'll just mark it here, Great Gatsby's mansion is somewhere here across the bay, and right across the bay is Daisy's house. This is the green light which I have mentioned here. Then after that, just next to Gatsby, you have Nick's house, okay? So this is East Egg and this is West Egg for you. This is Long Island. You see Long Island Sound here. And this is East Egg and West Egg. This is where we are living. Now from East Egg, right? From West Egg. Oh no, from East Egg, sorry. Nick was there in Tom's house. In chapter 2, from East Egg, I'm just marking here, all the way from here, you're going to go to New York. New York is somewhere over here. This is East Egg, okay? All the way from there, you're going to come here to New York. So they have to cross the Valley of Ashes, right? So from East Egg and West Egg, from West Egg, between West Egg and New York, there's this part called Flushing, right? This is the Valley of Ashes. Flushing, it's a real place, Flushing. Now, I'll just tell you what is it about. In The Great Gatsby, the Valley of Ashes is based on the industrial area of Queens, located between West Egg and Manhattan. It's a real place, okay? Just the names have been changed, and even East Egg and West Egg is fictionalized, but these are places, actual places. So in F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby, East Egg and West Egg are fictional peninsulas on Long Island near New York City that represent different social classes and lifestyles. East Egg is home to the old money, established aristocracy, while West Egg is where the newly rich like Jay Gatsby reside. Now, when we come to Flushing, the Valley of Ashes, the Great Gatsby, the Flushing area, is a symbolic location representing the industrial wasteland and moral decay of the 1920s, okay, the Valley of Ashes. It's specifically referred to as the Valley of Ashes, a refuse dump near Flushing, Queens. This is a place, Flushing, Queens. This area, which is now Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, was once a large ash dump that symbolized the moral and spiritual decay of the era. Now there's a park, but before in the 1920s, this was a dumping ground. It was an ash dump, large ash dump. So Fitzgerald used this place and referred to it as the Valley of Ashes in The Great Gatsby. So you see, this is a whole divide. Now I'm going to divide it, okay? This whole divide between East Egg and West Egg and Flushing, where the Valley of Ashes is. Now you see, you come from here and then again there's another divide. This is another divide. I'll put another divide over here. This is another divide between Flushing and the big city, New York. Now in New York, whatever is happening between Tom and Daisy, this is again a divide. You have the posh divide, then you have the poor, the people who are living there in Flushing in the Valley of Ashes. Then you have the city, which is a mixture of the two. In the city, people are too busy. People don't have time. Whatever Tom and Myrtle's relationship is like, nobody has time to look at it. That's why they can keep it a secret. That's why they choose New York. That's why they choose an apartment in New York. That's why they are in New York. So many lives, so many apartments, and nobody has time for anyone. It's the city. It's a big city. So they are doing all of these things. They're carrying out their deeds there so that people don't question them. In the aristocratic side, their principles and everything, their whole, the family will be questioned, that what kind of family is this? But in the city, nobody has time to look at them. So Tom can be more stealthy. Tom can be more protected. His reputation can be more protected there. And even in the Valley of Ashes, if it comes out that Myrtle is having an affair with Tom, then people will again say that, oh, okay, so this rich man is having an affair over here. And it's all about his status. It's all about his reputation. And this is the division. So, you have three different places: the posh areas, the area where it's the dumping ground, and then you have New York, where different stories are taking place. So this is the map of Gatsby. We're going to move on to the last slide. So let us talk of the summary of chapter 3. Now what happens in chapter 3 is we understand, or we get to know the fact that Gatsby throws elaborate parties, okay, fashionable, really high-end elaborate parties every weekend, and his chauffeur has come to Nick's house to give him an invitation. He says that Gatsby would want you to be in one of these parties. Now Nick goes to the party and he feels a little bit of out of place, but since he's observant and he's our observer, he observes so many things in the parties and he realizes that the guests are drawn both from East Egg and West Egg. guests come, swarm there. They actually fly there like moths are drawn, no, to a flame, like moths are attracted to light, right, and a flame. Like that, they swarm together. There, so many people just visit Gatsby's house, and it's an open house. He has opened the whole house for the guests to, roam about. He has opened his house, and he's thrown this extravagant party, very lavish party, and everybody has gone there, both from East Egg and West Egg. Like aristocratic families and people with connections have come there. Now he runs into Jordan Baker also. Remember Jordan Baker from chapter 1? She is Daisy's friend, right? So he runs into her. Now they're very, very mesmerized by everything that is going on in the party. They hear a few rumors also about Gatsby, that Gatsby was in the military, he killed a man once, and all of these things. Okay, they hear rumors about him, but we have not met Gatsby. Throughout chapter 1, 2, and now 3 also, we are yet to meet the protagonist of the story, to whom we owe the title of the story also, The Great Gatsby. So we, the audience, the readers, are waiting to meet Gatsby. And Nick runs into Jordan Baker. Jordan Baker tells him that, I heard this about Gatsby. There are people who are saying we heard that about Gatsby. But, the audience is we are kept on our toes. The reader is kept on their toes to actually find out who actually Gatsby is. We have not met the host yet. Now, Jordan Baker and Nick are so enamored, or really so intrigued and so interested in Gatsby. They say that let's go find him, and the whole house is open, right? So they go into the house and they search for him, and they come to a library. Now in the library they meet a man with huge owl-eyed spectacles. Those round spectacles, no? He's using owl-eyed spectacles, and Nick calls him the owl-eyed man. This has a very big significance, I will tell you. Now in the library they meet this person, and this person looks at the library books, and he says, I thought these were all fake books, but when I took one book out, I saw that it was a new book, very fresh book, very well preserved book, he was saying. Okay, I'll tell you the symbolism of this also later. So they are, he is poring over the unread books in Gatsby's library. He's looking at them. All of these things are going on. Now at midnight, Nick and Jordan Baker again go out to see the entertainment, and that's when Nick tells somebody, his chauffeur, Gatsby's chauffeur, invited me. Gatsby was in the army, and he starts telling this other person, like he's become part of the crowd. Like when he entered, people were telling him that, Gatsby is like this, Gatsby is like that. At midnight, he meets somebody, and he tells that person, Gatsby is like this, Gatsby is like that. And Gatsby turned, and he was like, I am Gatsby. Nick, he feels like this person is familiar to him, and it turns out to be none other than Gatsby. We are, we meet Gatsby, and this is what Nick has to say about him. I marked it in my book. I'll just read it out. This is what he says when he meets Gatsby. He says, he smiled understandingly, much more than understandingly. It was one of those rare smiles with a quality of eternal reassurance in it that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life. It faced, or seemed to face, the whole eternal world for an instant, and then concentrated on you with an irresistible prejudice in your favor. It understood you just so far as you wanted to be understood, believed in you as you would like to believe in yourself, and assured you that it had precisely the impression of you that your best you hoped to convey. So he is seeing Gatsby's first appearance, first smile, as in his favor. Like, he has heard so much. He has heard so much about Gatsby. He has, he's completely... Gatsby is like an enigma, a mystery, right? And he has heard so much about him. So many people have told him that the first impression of Gatsby for him is very favorable. He says he has a very welcoming smile, not too much, but it's a smile that'll understand you. And it's a very favorable first impression of Gatsby on Nick, okay? And towards the end, what happens is this whole party is going on, and he gets into this what will I say, the whole excitement of the party. He gets attracted to it, Nick, completely. And then Jordan Baker joins him. Gatsby tells Jordan Baker that, can you please come with me inside the house? I need to speak to you. And, Nick is left to entertain himself in the party. And then when Jordan comes out, she tells Nick that I have heard the most extraordinary thing. Like, she did not tell him what did she hear, but she told Nick that I have heard such an extraordinary thing. So Gatsby took Jordan Baker inside the house and told her something, and we will get to know what it is later, okay? So he tells Jordan Baker something, and she tells Nick that I have heard something, and this is how the whole party goes. Chapter 3 is all about Gatsby's party, this extravagance and the persona of Gatsby. And then what happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? We see that man with the owl spectacles, right? We see him struggling to take his car out of the ditch. He has ran his car into the ditch, and he cannot take that car out, and all of that. So during that scene when Nick has all the guests have departed, it's 2 o'clock, right? This is what Nick says, okay? I'll just read it out. A sudden emptiness seemed to flow now from the windows and the great doors, endowing with complete isolation the figure of the host who stood on the porch, his hand up in formal gesture of farewell. So when everybody was leaving, and when Nick is about to leave and he says goodbye to Gatsby, he says that when the whole party has ended, he says, a sudden emptiness seemed to flow from now from the windows and the great doors. You know, the same windows and doors that were swarming with people when they left, right, the after party. As he was saying goodbye to Gatsby, he looked back and he looked at the mansion. Everything was empty. There's a sudden emptiness, and endowing with complete isolation the figure of the host. The host looked isolated. So this is powerful symbolism that Gatsby, in reality, amidst this whole crowd that comes to his house, known and unknown people come to his house every weekend to celebrate. There are hundreds of people who are coming to his house to celebrate. He is still an isolated man. He's still a lonely man, okay? Gatsby, this figure of Gatsby is surrounded with isolation, who stood on the porch, his hand up in formal gesture of farewell. So probably the one person that Gatsby now is trying to make connections with is Nick, the only person who he will try to. And apart from that, nobody in that entire party actually cares for Gatsby. He throws extravagant parties. People are there for their own pleasures and enjoyment. Nobody actually cares about Gatsby. Gatsby is a loner. He is a lone person. He is lonely. And, you know, this at the heart of this American dream, at the heart of everything that he has realized, there's emptiness in between. That's the whole point of chapter 3. Now we're going to look at the analysis, okay, very quickly. So chapter 3, okay, this is how Nick describes the guests came to his parties. In his blue gardens, men and girls came and went like moths among the whisperings and the champagne and the stars. Moths, like how moths are drawn to light, right? Like moths are drawn to flames. That's how his guests arrived, okay, in groups. Chapter 3 of The Great Gatsby is significant because it introduces Nick to Gatsby's lavish parties, revealing the superficiality and extravagance of the Roaring Twenties. It also exposes the rumors and speculation surrounding Gatsby. And you know why the superficiality? There's one important quote from chapter 3. I marked it one more time. Okay, so see, this is Jordan Baker says this. I like large parties. They're so intimate. At small parties, there isn't any privacy. Okay, she says this. So, you know, in small parties, people know each other. It's an intimate, gathering. So, small parties like what? I'll call my friends. My friends will call their family. Family and friends. This is an intimate gathering. So, there's no privacy. Why is there no privacy? Because everybody knows everything about everyone. It's an intimate gathering. But Jordan Baker says, I like large parties. They're so intimate. Okay, at small parties there isn't any privacy. Small parties, there's no privacy because you know each other. And in large parties, it's intimate. There is privacy in large parties. It's intimate and it lacks privacy. It has privacy. Why is there privacy? Because no one knows anyone. No one knows anyone. You can just observe and sit, and that's exactly what Jordan Baker and Nick are doing, okay? So this is one. So, you know, this is what they're saying. The Roaring Twenties exposes the rumors and speculations. Furthermore, it marks Nick's first formal meeting with Gatsby, initiating a deeper exploration of the relationship and Gatsby's motivation. So this is the first time in chapter 3 that Nick actually physically meets Gatsby. So Gatsby's parties as a symbol of superficiality. The lavish parties serve as a mask for Gatsby's desperation to recapture the past and his inability to connect authentically. So that is, people come to him, people know Gatsby because of his lavish parties, but without those parties, without that wealth, who is Gatsby? We don't even know the real identity of the man called Gatsby. Who is he really? We don't know. We just know he's a man who's rich, who throws lavish parties. Everybody knows him that. So it's superficial, right? There's an emptiness. So They represent the era's obsession with wealth, glamour, and social climbing, as well as the emptiness that lies beneath. Nobody wants to know the real Gatsby. They respect him, they know his name because of the parties that he throws. So, East Egg versus West Egg. The chapter contrasts the old money of East Egg with the new money of West Egg, highlighting the social hierarchy and the tensions between them. The various characters that you'll meet here will contrast that. So, if you read it, you'll understand. Gatsby, with his West Egg mansion, attempts to bridge this divide. But his lavish parties are ultimately a reflection of his own insecurities and his attempts to buy his way into East Egg social circles. So, I'll tell you this whole thing, I will tell you in the next chapter, okay, when we discuss the next chapter. But just know that he's throwing parties to bridge that gap. He's throwing parties so that the East Egg people also come to his parties, okay. And he is trying to bridge that. He's going to use wealth to bridge that gap. Now that will have holes. That bridge will have holes, okay. You will have pitfalls because you're not doing it authentically. People are not connecting with you because of the person that you are. People are connecting with you because of the wealth that you have. So sooner or later, that's going to have an effect. Okay. So Owl Eyes and the Illusion of Wealth. This is what I meant. Owl Eyes, Observations of Gatsby's Library. Okay, where the books are seemingly real but not read, symbolize the superficiality of the Roaring Twenties. Gatsby has built a whole library, okay, but he has not read a single book from that library. That the person with the owl eyes, right? He's sitting in the library and examining the books, and he tells Nick and Jordan that these are fresh and new, like not even one page has been turned. So he's rich and he has built a library for himself, but he does not have the knowledge, he does not have the authenticity, he does not have you just build a library because you have money, but actually you're not reading anything, it's just showing off, okay. But when you take out the book and you actually read, like this is one other contrast of East Egg. In Daisy Buchanan's house, suppose I'm saying people who are living in the East Egg, they have libraries, collections, they read books, they enrich their thoughts. Generationally, it has been passed down. There's wisdom also. Yale University, Oxford University, people have gone to these universities, gained an education, they have wit, they have the knowledge of the world. In West Egg, you have a library in Gatsby's house, but not even a book has been read. So that's again a contrast between old money and new money, East Egg and West Egg. Gatsby has a library, but he does not have the authenticity, does not have the knowledge, and does not have that refinement of Oxford and Yale University to give him credit, right? Like that. I'm giving you an example. Like this is what it symbolizes, that the books are seemingly real but not read. Okay, the books are seemingly real but not read, symbolize the superficiality of the Roaring Twenties. Superficiality, they symbolize the superficiality. Okay, superficiality means on the surface. In depth, there's nothing deep in it. So superficiality of the Roaring Twenties, and the focus on the appearances over substance. There's no substance, no depth. It's just appearances, all bling bling and lavish lifestyles for Gatsby. Okay, so that's what it is. The car wreck as a symbol of carelessness. The car wreck outside Gatsby's mansion, which is like where the driver is oblivious to the damage, symbolizes the reckless disregard for consequences and the general carelessness that Fitzgerald perceived the wealthy of the 1920s. The driver who had actually put the car in the ditch, right? And he's not aware that it's in the ditch even. It's symbolic of the fact that, the cars in the ditch realize what you're doing, right? That's symbolic of the 1920s. Realize what decisions you're making, your morality is at stake, what decisions are you making, your moral decay is happening, but you're still in the ditch. You're not even realizing that you're going down the wrong path. You're going down a very risky path. And it is the consequences and the general carelessness of the 1920s of the rich, okay, of the wealthy, the general disregard for consequences. That is, you are so hungry to get money, you'll do anything for that, and you have a disregard of the consequences that it might bring. And general carelessness that Fitzgerald perceived in the wealthy of the 1920s. General carelessness, like so what attitude, right? You'll make mistakes after mistakes as long as you make money. So Gatsby's isolation. Despite hosting elaborate parties, Gatsby remained isolated and detached from the festivities, highlighting his inability to find genuine connection and his yearning for a love that is beyond his reach. Now you just imagine this, you're throwing a party or maybe I'm throwing a party. I'm just saying, all of us are invited. You come to my party. I am only not there. I'm not being able to talk to anyone. I'm isolated. I'm inside the house. Sometimes I just say hi, bye, like that. But people are still coming to my parties. What does that say? People are coming because of the lavishness, because of, say, the way Gatsby throws the parties, because of the entertainment they're coming. But Gatsby himself as a person cannot make connections. So that he's isolated as a person and empty, you know. So, foreshadowing of the tragedy, the car wreck and general sense of excess and recklessness foreshadow the tragic events that will unfold later in the novel, particularly Gatsby's death. So, this we'll come back to again when we go. So, just remember that the recklessness, the carelessness, this is a given. Myrtle and Tom Wilson's life, reckless, careless, okay. Later, Daisy's driving the car will be reckless and careless, okay. All of this is foreshadowing of tragic events that are going to happen later, which we're going to see as we move forward with the story. So this is it for today, guys. This is chapter 1, 2 and 3 of The Great Gatsby. I really hope that my videos are interesting you. They are of interest and of help to you, and if they have been, then please do consider liking the video and sharing my videos and subscribing to my channel for similar content. And till we meet again, I really hope that you stay healthy and happy. See you in the next one, guys.